It's not right to blame everything on Puffy. It's just not right.
Suge Knight speaking from prison about Sean Combs' sex trafficking trial as his one-time music industry rival, the bad boy for life, fights to stay out of prison for life. I talk with Suge about the trial, Combs' sex life, and what he says Puffy should do next. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Suge Knight, one of the founders of Death Row Records, has a lot to say, and he certainly did when I talked to him about Sean Combs' racketeering and sex trafficking trial. He weighed in on everything from the charges to Kid Cudi coming up in the case, Combs' former assistant, and Cassie. But one thing he says he wants to see come out of this entire thing is something good for hip-hop. Combs' trial is in its fourth week in the Southern District of New York. You guys have all been watching it. He faces charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. But Knight thinks the case is bigger than that, and that it could all end up being about more than those charges, and that it could impact the hip-hop industry. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, and his attorneys have said he has not committed any acts of sex trafficking or sexual assault. They've told the jury that the government's witnesses are motivated by love, jealousy, and money. The witnesses have described Sean Combs as a man who rolled his kingdom, as one witness described it, with threats. He was a man who could make you feel loved or loathed. If Sean Combs is convicted, he could very well spend the rest of his life in prison. Someone who knows about being behind bars, but for a much different reason, is Combs' one-time music industry arch-rival Suge Knight. In the mid-90s and early aughts, Combs and Knight's rivalry made headlines, and some say it may have been overblown, but to listen to the testimony in this trial, it probably wasn't. Combs ran Bad Boy Records based on the East Coast, and Knight ran Death Row Records on the West Coast. They were both titans in hip-hop. Combs' big artist was the Notorious B.I.G., whose legal name was Christopher Wallace. One of Knight's big artists was Tupac Shakur. Shakur was shot and killed in Las Vegas in September of 1996, and the Notorious B.I.G. was shot and killed in Los Angeles the following spring, as Combs rode in another vehicle. No one was ever charged with Christopher Wallace's murder. Dwayne "Keefy" D. Davis was charged with ordering Tupac's killing and being there when it happened, but charges were not filed in that case until 2023, and Davis's trial will likely not happen until next year in Las Vegas. But back to Suge Knight. He's in prison in California. He's now 60 years old and 10 years into a 28-year sentence on a manslaughter conviction. Knight hit and killed a man at a Compton hamburger stand in 2015 after arguing with another man about his portrayal in the film Straight Outta Compton. Suge Knight talks on occasion from behind prison walls. He has a podcast, Collect Call with Suge Knight, and he grants interviews from time to time. And during Sean Combs' trial, his name has come up quite a bit. One of Combs' assistants, David James, testified earlier in the trial that in 2008, he and D-Rock, one of Combs' security guards, spotted Suge Knight at Mel's Diner in L.A. When they returned to Combs' house with the food, James said that Combs wanted to go looking for Knight, so Combs grabbed some guns, and they went back to the diner. James said Cassie was crying, and he was actually worried as they rode in the car back to the diner. They didn't find Suge Knight. He was already gone. That's pretty scary stuff. James said he quit working for Combs after this because he realized his life was in danger. Knight came up again when Capricorn Clark testified. Clark testified she's known Combs since 2002 and started working for him in 2004. But she had worked for Suge Knight before Combs. And Clark said on her first day of work, Sean Combs and Uncle Paulie, one of his security guys, took her to Central Park at 9 p.m., and Combs told her he didn't know she had worked for Suge Knight. So if anything bad happened, he would have to kill her. Clark testified about other threats made to her by Combs' staff, including one in which she said she was given a lie detector test over missing jewelry and told she would be thrown in the East River if she didn't pass that test. We've all heard that wrinkle creams are the secret to looking younger, but according to one Beverly Hills doctor, that might not be the whole story. Dr. John Lakey, a renowned cosmetic surgeon and beauty expert, says that most wrinkle solutions on the market are just glorified moisturizers, and they don't always deliver the results they promise. In fact, some can even irritate your skin. But Dr. Lakey didn't stop there. He's been working on something new, an anti-aging breakthrough he calls the Age Rewinder method. It's a simple at-home technique that he says can visibly reduce the signs of aging in under 2 minutes. Think of it like a mini makeover, almost like Photoshop for your face, but real. Curious? Dr. Lakey put together a short video showing you exactly how it works step by step so you can try it yourself from home. He says, if this helps even one person feel more confident in their skin, it's worth it. The response, it's been huge. The video's already gotten more than 2.3 million views, and the reviews are pouring in. Thousands of women say they look noticeably younger. One even said, best results I've ever seen. I'll never stop using this. If you want to see what it's all about, just go to bhmd1.com/fix or click the link in the description below. Again, that's bhmd1.com/fix. If you've tried other products without much luck, this could be the thing that finally works for you. It only takes a few minutes to watch, so make sure you check it out right now by going to bhmd1.com/fix. Again, that's bhmd1.com/fix. So I want to bring in somebody who knows a lot about Sean Combs. He's known him for a long time. He is Suge Knight, the founder of Death Row Records. So Suge, thanks so much for coming on and joining me. First of all, what do you think of the trial so far? You've been following the coverage. What do you think?
Well, I think, I wish, even though it's a lot of stake on the line for his Puffy's freedom, but I wish we can do something for the culture of hip hop. And it's so important that we starting to build hip hop over, because I think over the years, a lot of stuff then tore hip hop down. And you know what I mean by that? I know that I used to go to schools and talk to young kids, and they'd be like, oh, I want to do this when I grow up. Some of them say, I want to be a football player, a basketball player, you know, a rapper, a singer. And I'm like, that's good. As long as it's not a drug dealer, as long as it's not something that will, that you can lose your life over or end up in prison, right? The sad thing about it, now sometimes you got to tell the young kids, if they say they want to be a rapper, you got to say maybe pick something else, because all the rappers end up getting killed or going to prison or getting locked up, and it shouldn't be that way. So I think it's a time for us to try to restructure the culture of hip hop and do more positive. Especially that's how I feel. I want to be more on a positive mission, because there's so many people that don't have anything to do with hip hop for the culture of it. They have podcasts and they talk about it. They talk about it from a negative way, that they went in the studio. They went in the room, sitting down, having dinner with these people. They might be doing security outside. So it's need to come back to the facts of a teaching moment.
How do you think you do that? Obviously you're in prison for manslaughter. Are you working to do that somehow from where you are? And how do you think you can do that?
Absolutely, because I take accountability for anything I do wrong or right. And I think we all should do that, right? So you take Puffy. Puffy's on the stand. And I say this a lot, and a lot of people cuts it off because they don't want the whole truth out there. I understand. I say, well, they're trying to get Puffy for RICO. Now, Capricorn. I know Capricorn.
Right.
So Capricorn was around Death Row before she ended up at Bad Boy. And my cigars and go after Capricorn, and I felt sort of bad for Capricorn. So from there, she started working for Bad Boy. And the things they did to her, if they are true, or threatening her in the park or doing those type of things, that's bad to do a woman like that. But at the same time, they saying it's a RICO situation. So they called Capricorn for a meeting, and it was Puffy, Jimmy Iovine, and they enforce her. She thinks she's going over there to maybe get a job, or maybe do a project.
Hmm.
And she was told by Jimmy that, hey, you got to take this money that we're going to give you to shut up. You don't have a choice. Take it or something's going to happen to you. That's his words. He told her, according to Capricorn.
Now, during the trial, Capricorn Clark testified that Sean Combs had shoved her at his Miami mansion and that he had made threats to her over the years. Clark mentioned that after Sean Combs fired her, he was supposed to give her a reference. So when she met with record industry executive Jimmy Iovine, she thought it was about a job. But she testified that Iovine told her to leave Puff alone or this won't end well for you. Clark also testified that she received a $500,000 settlement from Combs' company. So back to Suge Knight and his thoughts on the music industry. He believes there's corruption in the highest ranks of the business.
But more importantly, I don't feel that these people should be getting in trouble like that. I think it should be a situation where they should work a deal with Puffy. They should work a deal with Jimmy Iovine. They should work a deal with Clyde Davis, Russell Simmons. A lot of these guys have passed away. But the people who have not passed away, they should work a deal with these people. They should allow these people to get on the stand. That will help the culture of hip hop. That will help the culture of the young people, the young generation. Because if Jimmy Iovine gets on the stand and tell his truth, if Puffy gets on the stand and tell all his truth, and all the rest of them, that's a teaching moment. That what that does it's so powerful. That'll be one of the best blessings of God that we can receive for hip hop. Because at the same time, Puffy did some things wrong. So do all of us. But we need to learn from it.
So right there, Suge Knight says Sean Combs should take some type of deal. Federal prosecutors said they offered Sean Combs a plea deal before trial, and he declined it. Not once, but twice. Now, during the trial, the jury also heard testimony from rapper Kid Cudi, whose legal name is Scott Mescudi. Mescudi testified that he was hanging out with Cassie in 2011, and that he thought Cassie and Combs were broken up at the time. According to Mescudi, that led Combs and one of his security guys to break into his house. Mescudi testified he drove to his home to confront Combs, and then Capricorn Clark had testified that Mescudi took off, and Combs and his security guy chased Mescudi through the Hollywood Hills. The next month, Mescudi said someone tossed a Molotov cocktail into his Porsche, and he believed Combs was responsible. Mescudi said he met Cassie when they recorded a song together. Suge Knight had thoughts on that, too.
I don't believe that Kid Cudi was fair. I didn't think it was right that Kid Cudi know that Puffy paid this man to do a song on Cassie. He didn't pay you to have sex with her. So if he loved this woman, love is powerful. It's been a lot of times I done dated women and didn't really understand how to love a woman. When you find that woman you love, you willing to fight over her, you willing to fight for her, you willing to protect her, you willing to, go and rage. So that's powerful. So for Puffy to pay this man and do a hit song on Cassie and he have sex with her and he love her, naturally he want to deal with this guy. So Kid Cudi was out of line for even having sex with her. I think Cassie's husband is out of line for stepping in and getting money and marrying her and having kids with her. On a simple fact that look like he doing it for the money. But however, my mother, Maxine Knight, she passed away, but my mother told me love. My mother told me how to be respectful. Do I do everything my mother say? No. But for the most part, I never forget the things she taught me.
Throughout this trial, we've heard about the freak-offs. We've heard about Sean Combs enjoying watching his sexual partners having sex with male escorts and directing these sexual encounters. We've heard about the candles, the baby oil, and other really disturbing things like a sex worker urinating in Cassie Ventura's mouth. And in previous episodes of Crime Fix, I've told you about Sean Combs' childhood and his claim that he watched pornography as a child and that he lost his virginity at a young age. Knight had something to say about Combs' sexual proclivities. Take a listen.
And on Puffy's situation, it sort of sounds like it could be a sad situation. People might feel that I'm cheering for Puffy. Suge Knight don't carry no pom-poms for no one but God. I'm quite sure as a young boy, he might have seen things he shouldn't have seen. He probably experienced things he shouldn't have experienced. A man could have touched him and make him feel that's love. He could have seen somebody urinating on a woman. He could have think that's love. You know, not saying that's the case or not the case, but we don't know until we give him his chance, his opportunity to humanize himself. A reporter says, how can I give advice to Puffy when I'm in prison? Yeah, I'm in prison. And I take full responsibility, but even my situation, I should have came to prison, but not for this long. I got an illegal sentence. Johnny Carkin's own words. Other lawyers talked about it. And I'm supposed to have strikes. So my time is over here. And I got a habeas in court. I'm not looking to judge me as Suge Knight. Judge me as I'm right or wrong about the law. That's it. So when it comes back to Puffy, look at the things he was taught. Look at a lot of things he learned from. A lot of people, we got to take accountability for hip hop. And what I mean by taking accountability for hip hop, because when you really look at it, somebody did that to Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones did something what he did to Michael Jackson. Then Michael Jackson accused of something what he did to these other guys. Somebody did that to Tevin Campbell. Somebody did that to Puffy. Puffy did it to Usher. Usher allegedly, everybody says, did something to Justin Bieber. And I really got all the love and respect for Justin Bieber. That little boy been through so much and he's a star. He should never have to go through that. So if we don't fix the situation, history will continue to repeat itself. Hip hop is so powerful. Music is so powerful. That's the one thing that brings people together. That's the language that makes us feel better. I got a mental health program in prison, and I do with people to get involved in music, because music is the one thing that let you escape. It's better than drugs. Mm-hmm. So when you look at all these things that we can do to help, we keep pushing everything under the rug. It's too many. That rug is so full. It's not even. It's lumpy. You can see all the things swept under the rug. Let's fix this situation.
So it sounds like. So it sounds like you think all the bad behavior we're hearing about from Sean Combs over the years, that he learned this from somewhere, whether it was through his childhood, coming up through the music industry. I've heard you say that you think he should testify. You think he should get up there on the stand and just lay it all out?
Absolutely. That's the best thing he can do. Humanize himself. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. Only way you can be perfect is you got to be immortal. And if you're immortal, you're in heaven or hell. I'm not ready to go to heaven, but I will go. But at the same time, in Puffy's situation, why do everyone else get to walk away scot-free and he the only one being... It's a bad thing when you take a father away from his kids, because that put his kids in prison. That put his family in prison. I'm not into destroying families. I mean, hip hop was so powerful. Crooked cops destroyed hip hop, and that's real sad.
How do you think the trial is looking for him? I mean, do you think he's guilty of RICO? Like, what do you think of everything that's going on?
Well, he's not guilty. He shouldn't be guilty of RICO because they're not putting the other people who was involved in the RICO with him on trial or as a witness. They're not even mentioned. But once again, it's not right to blame everything on Puffy. It's just not right. And for everyone to get up there and say that If they really want to get Puffy, make him guilty on everything, they would have put all these people on trial. But they can't put these people on trial because these people is under the umbrella that whatever they do wrong, it's no way in the world that these people should have my masters and my catalog of certain things that they didn't rightfully earn or buy. And Snoop never bought it, but they'll let him go and say he did to get them. These the people who are really doing RICO. These the people who are really doing organized crime. Puffy's just the fall guy who's gonna go down for it, or maybe not everything, but he's on the one. He got the smoking gun in his hand, and it's not just him. But he's not no saint. He's not no angel. But he got to have some type of. I think he got a great relationship with law enforcement because no matter what goes on, none of these people go to prison in some kind of way. Even though I can be all the way innocent and I still end up in prison. So when you look at these type of things, it makes me saying no matter what any of us say, nobody cares because we're hip hop. Most of the people involved in hip hop and the culture of hip hop is black. So most of the artists don't have unions and retirement, anything, and everybody turns everyone against each other. I think Cardi B is one of the greatest entertainers around. Got nothing but cigars and love for her. And people don't even come to her aid when her ex-husband is being up and trying to take her money from her and her kids. Why? What is wrong with the truth? Make it make sense. Right now, that make my blood boil because it's to the point where everybody doing stuff for the cameras. Everybody doing things for attention. If someone was really caring about me, they're supposed to be coming to visit me. Except for when I give the passes to the kids or a great woman who had to do things that they don't have time to come. People thought I was a mean person when I got an incredible friend and me and her go way back. Shouts out to Boo. But when you look at it, I said I told another guy I got respect for. Let that woman go. If you're in a situation where you can't walk and stand up and you're wearing diapers and can't hold nothing, don't make the other person miserable. That's why I don't fault people or blame it on people. I let them go. I don't say they gotta come visit me all the time. We gotta grow from this. We gotta stop making it about one person. One person should never be more important than hip hop, and that even goes for me. So I'm just gonna say this: the outcome would be a lot better and more helpful if we all do what's right for the culture of hip hop. Let Puffy tell his truth. Puffy gets on that stand. Humanize yourselves. Bring everyone else and put them on the stand. They have hip hop, but they don't have to go to prison for it. Once again, I'm not saying I'm Mr. Right, but I am Suge Knight. I'm out. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you spending so much time with me. Do you think he will be convicted? I know we're still early on in this trial.
I don't think he'd be convicted with too many things.
Really?
He might get something. No. Only reason why they're gonna probably give him something because he got to get something because they made him look like a monster. Nobody lets Frankenstein go. Frankenstein could have been the nicest guy in the whole neighborhood. But once they say Frankenstein is the bad guy, people are gonna beat him or want him dead. Well, once again, we all will get better when we do better.
Do you think he's a monster?
My heart is nowhere near pure enough to judge. I am not God. And God looking at me and say, shut up. That's the only person who could tell me to shut up. God right there said, shut up. Suge Knight, you are not perfect. And you know it. So that's that.
So you think they might get him on something, but you don't think he'll be convicted of everything?
Probably not of everything. But they're gonna, but he'll be all right. They sell baby oil. Baby oil is, they got baby oil in the feds. All right. Enjoy yourself.
So those were some of Suge Knight's thoughts on the trial of Sean Combs. He said if Combs is convicted, he'll be all right. You might be wondering what happened to Death Row Records. Right now, Snoop Dogg owns it. As I mentioned earlier, Suge Knight is 10 years into his 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter. Sean Combs' trial is continuing in the Southern District of New York. It's expected to last 8 weeks, and right now we're in the middle of the 4th week. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.